The millionaire faces a shocking promise from a homeless girl who claims she can heal him. Michael Harper stood under the flickering street lamp, his breath fogging the chill night air. The city buzzed around him, honking cabs, shouting vendors, footsteps crunching on the wet pavement layered with golden, swirling leaves. Yet inside, Michael felt nothing but the heavy, cold weight of loneliness pressing on his chest. A sharp mind, a fortune built from scratch. That was him. But tonight, the empire meant nothing. His secret ailment, a gnawing darkness inside, made every victory hollow. Just then, a sudden shadow moved through the crowd, a small figure cloaked in rags, barely more than a girl. Her eyes caught his, steady and clear, calm in the storm of the city. She didn't flinch. She didn't turn away. Instead, she stepped close, and something in her silence pulled him in. "Michael Harper," she whispered, voice low but firm. "I can heal you. I know about the pain you hide." Her words hit him like a jolt. Who even knew? That sharp pain in his side, the nights drained by fear, the doctor's warnings he refused to admit out loud. How could this ragged girl know? He wanted to laugh, to brush her off as another lost soul chasing scraps. But there was something unnerving about her, like she carried a fierce secret. Around them, the city noise seemed to fade into a tense hush. Cars slowed, faces turned, people paused, watching this strange exchange between the billionaire and the ragged girl who claimed impossible healing. "Who sent you?" Michael asked, voice rough. His hand trembled, caught between suspicion and a desperate hope. "Not sent," she said, eyes never leaving his. "I was just waiting for you." Her breath smelled faintly of smoke and something sweet, like autumn berries, crushed beneath boots. For a moment, the air grew colder, the leaves swirling faster, masking whispered murmurs. Passers-by muttered shocked phrases. "Is that the Harper guy? What's that crazy girl saying?" Some shook their heads. Others pulled out phones, filming silently, the scandal brewing under streetlights. Michael felt that tightness again, a mix of fear and something raw bubbling up inside. Could he risk it? Could he believe her? The girl reached out, hand trembling. "The price is yours to pay," she said, "but I can make the pain stop. Forever." A lump rose in his throat. The city pulsed around them. Lights flickered. Distant sirens screamed. Michael's heart thundered. Could he trust this stranger? Could he step into a world he had always avoided? This wasn't just a choice. This was a plunge. And as the leaves whipped wild in the cold wind, Michael Harper stood frozen on the edge of a decision that might shatter his flawless life or save it. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without warning. Just quickly check that red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming your way. And while you're at it, leave that powerful like. It helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, What city are you watching from? I love getting to know each incredible person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Michael's breath hitched as the girl's trembling hand reached out, hovering inches from his chest. The chill in the air seemed to thicken, wrapping tighter around his ribcage. He wanted to pull back, to scream no, but his body was frozen, caught in the sharp pull of something he couldn't name. Hope? Desperation? Fear? Price to pay, she whispered again. So close now, his skin felt her ragged sleeve brush against him. His pulse hammered, wild, erratic, alive. Then, without warning, a deafening crash tore through the quiet buzz of the street. A car slammed barrels first into a nearby lab post, shattering glass, twisting metal like paper. Screams cut through the freezing night, harsh and high. People scattered, stumbling over each other, while heads whipped toward the wreck. Michael's eyes darted, then slowed, because from that wreckage, something dark and terrible spilled onto the pavement. Not just metal and smoke. No, it was a body, a man. Blood pooling fast under the dull street lamp. The crowd parted like water, revealing a face Michael knew too well, one he'd buried, denied, prayed never to see again. Dad? The word escaped, barely a whisper, shaky, broken. The homeless girl's gaze snapped from Michael's chest to the bleeding man on the ground. Her eyes went icy. You're not ready. Michael felt his legs weaken, his hands clenched at his sides, nails biting into skin. In the wet city glow, the man's eyes fluttered open, full of pain, fear, a reflection of his own nightmare. You can't, Michael's voice cracked, the past flooding forward like poison. You're supposed to be dead. The man's lips moved, but nothing came. Blood oozed between his fingers, slick and sticky. The crowd gasped. Phones lifted for calls to 911, but Michael barely saw them. He was staring at his father, James Harper, the patriarch he'd believed lost to a fiery car accident years ago. The accident that had made Michael the man he was, the millionaire, forged in grief and rage. Why now? Michael whispered, numb. Why? The girl took a step back, shaking her head. The healing isn't mine to give, Michael. Not yet. You don't know the cost. And then the strangest thing happened. The man's eyes locked on hers, and in that moment, his expression twisted. Not with pain, but something else. Recognition. Fear. Michael, the man gasped, voice ragged. It's not me. It's... Darkness shadowed his features as he coughed, blood speckling the cracked pavement. They took it from me. The street fell almost silent, only the distant wail of sirens creeping closer. Michael looked back at the girl. Her ragged face was pale, her confident mask cracked like old paint. Who? He demanded, voice tight. Who took what? She swallowed hard, eyes flicking away for a split second, then met his gaze again, now fierce, raw. They never wanted you to heal, Michael. Not really. The crowd's murmurs grew, What is this? Some twisted family drama? The millionaire's secrets. Is this some kind of sick joke? But none of that mattered. Michael's heart felt like it had been punched so hard it might stop. Because the man bleeding on the street, the man who should have been dead, wasn't just Michael's father. He was a warning. And the girl? She wasn't just some homeless girl claiming unreal powers. She was the key to a darkness Michael couldn't yet understand. The cold wind whipped leaves at their feet as a police car screeched to a stop nearby, flashing red and blue lights painting the shadows. Michael felt the walls of his carefully built world crumble. He had no idea what to trust anymore. But one thing was terrifyingly clear. This was bigger than pain. Bigger than money. Something dangerous just woke up. And it was coming. For him. The flashing sirens swallowed the noise. People stepped back, eyes wide, whispers growing sharper. Michael's grip tightened around nothing, his father bleeding out just feet away, the homeless girl's stare slicing through the chaos. Then, before anything else could happen, the man's hand twitched wildly. A sudden, shuddering breath ripped from his chest, ragged and desperate. Michael leaned in, heart hammering, but the pain in his side pulled taut, like a wire ready to snap. "Michael," the man gasped again, voice breaking like ice cracking. "Don't. Trust her." The girl's eyes flicked toward the man, dark and unreadable. "She?" Michael blinked, confusion blooming. "Who? What are you talking about?" Then the man's hand, slick with blood, jerked sharply upward. Clutched in his fingers was a small, folded piece of paper. Michael bent down, the wet leaves crunching beneath his knees, and took the note. It read simply, "He's not your father." Michael's blood froze. The city sounds dimmed, until all he could hear was the pounding in his ears and the ragged breathing of the man before him. "No," Michael whispered, shaking his head like the words would shatter the truth. "That's impossible." The girl's eyes darkened further, colder now. "Because you needed him to be dead. Because believing otherwise meant facing the truth you buried long ago." Michael's breath hitched. His mind snapped back to years of secrets, his mother's whispered cries, the fire that took everything, the stories he'd told himself about who James Harper really was. The man bleeding here wasn't his father. But who was he then? Suddenly, the bleeding man's eyes slammed open wide. A fierce, frantic clarity replacing the pain. I'm not James," he spat, voice rough with panic. "They erased him, took him away, and left this shell." Michael recoiled as if struck. A shell. A lie. Everything he built his life on, shattered beneath a sick, sweet street lamp. The homeless girl stepped closer, her trembling hand no longer hesitant, but sure. "The truth doesn't heal, Michael. It burns, but you're ready now. Or soon will be." Before Michael could speak, the man coughed violently, convulsed, and his eyes flicked upward, unfocused. Then a horrifying sound burst from his chest. Not a cough, not a groan, but a sound like shards of glass breaking over and over and over. Then his face twisted in something no man should ever look like. A creature, not human. The skin darkened, veins blackened, eyes bleeding a burning red. The crowd screamed, stumbling backward, some dropping their phones as the man's body stiffened. A guttural roar shaking the night. Michael stumbled, trembling. What? What the hell? The homeless girl's calm broke, panic flickering behind her eyes for the first time. They lied to you all. To him, too. The Harper name. It's a mask. This was never your father. Not really. Michael's chest seized tight. The man convulsed again, body changing. No longer the broken shell of a man, but something monstrous. A shadow moving in flesh. Then, with a snap loud enough to echo through the silent street, the creature lunged, not at Michael, but at the girl. She caught it with a scream, her ragged sleeve glowing faintly blue, pushing the thing back. The crowd erupted, chaos spilling like wildfire. Michael dropped the note, his heart shattered again. If this wasn't his dad, then who was he? What had James Harper really become? And why had the girl said the healing wasn't hers to give? Somewhere in the distance, sirens screamed closer. Michael's world flipped upside down, in a city that never sleeps. And now, the nightmare wasn't just about pain or power. It was about monsters made real. And the girl's promise, that healing, was the darkest puzzle of all. He had to know. But at what cost? The city held its breath. What was coming next? And did Michael Harper still have a chance to outrun the truth? Michael stumbled back as the creature lunged, caught in the girl's glowing grasp. The crowd screamed, their terrified faces twisting under the harsh streetlight. Screams bounced between buildings. Sirens neared with urgent weight. His chest was tight, his breath shallow, his mind spinning. Who was this monster wearing his father's face? Suddenly, piercing silence sliced through the chaos. The creature froze. The girl's eyes darted to a dark alley just beyond the crowd. A figure stepped forward. A man, his coat dusted with rain, face half-shadowed but unmistakable. "Stop!" The man's voice cut clear and hard. The creature snarled, but hesitated. The girl's grip faltered. Michael blinked. His shock doubled. The man walked toward them slowly, pulling back the hood to reveal himself. Michael, but not the Michael standing under the street lamp. This Michael's eyes blazed cold in the lamplight, a cruel smile curling his lips. The crowd gasped, shifting back, phones lowered. The world felt unhinged. "No," the homeless girl whispered, voice breaking. "This can't be." Michael's head swam. Two of him. Before he could move, the doppelganger lifted a hand. Sharp. Steady. Did you really think it was your father? Or me? Both lies. His voice spilled dark, low, full of something dangerous. Michael's heart slammed. His knees threatened to buckle. I'm the truth. The other Michael stepped forward, and in that moment, the shadows flickered, shape-shifting around his body like smoke. Years ago, the voice said, I left this world. I left behind the mask of pain, the empire, the sickness. This world needed a face. So I built one. One you've been wearing. The street blurred for Michael as icy clarity hit. He put out his hands, trembling. What are you saying? The girl's tears sparkled in the cold air. This is not your story anymore. You never healed because you weren't meant to. Not until you faced yourself. This man, the pain inside, you were always fighting you, not him. Michael's gaze darted between his own reflection in that twisted figure and the monstrous shell collapsing near the girl. No, he whispered. I'm me. The other Michael smiled, a slow, terrifying smile. No, you're the copy, the shell they built. And he jerked a nod toward the monster, was your real father, the one stolen from you, but not in death. Michael staggered, confusion choking him. The monster's red eyes met his. It wasn't a beast. It was him, distorted. A memory twisted and broken. Do you feel it now? The other said. That pain, that sickness, it's the fracture inside your soul. The crowd faded again, their gasps muffled behind a thunderous beat in Michael's chest. Who are you then? The shadow smiled wider. I'm the part of you ran from. The truth you buried under money, power, and lies. I'm the man you should have been, before everything cracked. Suddenly, the girl screamed, sharp, breaking through the noise. Michael spun toward her. She clutched her chest, her eyes wild, fierce with unbearable agony. It's me, she gasped. I'm not who you think. Before she could say more, her body convulsed violently, the faint blue glow flashing brighter, then splintering. The monster screwed itself upright. Its beast eyes locked on her. It lunged again. The world tilted. Michael caught the girl mid-fall. Her breath was ragged, trembling, but her eyes never left his. Run, she whispered, or you'll lose more than you think. Michael looked back at his dark twin, the creature, the tangled truth swallowed by the city's cold bite. And then, beneath the broken street lamp, he understood. Nothing here was real, and everything had been a lie. But which lie was the truth? And who was the real Michael Harper? The man fighting for his life, or the shadow waiting to take it? The city held its breath as the night swallowed them whole, and the question burned, louder than any scream. Who am I? Michael caught the girl's heavy fall before she hit the pavement. Her body trembled, skin pale and slick with sweat. Her breath came fast, ragged, like she'd been running through storms no one else could see. Run, she whispered again, clutching his shirt tight, sending a chill straight to his bones. or lose everything. He looked back. The dark twin smirked, shadows swirling, like smoke wrapping around that twisted figure. The monster's burning red eyes narrowed, muscles coiled, ready to pounce. Michael's chest tightened. His heart pounded like a drum in his ears. He wanted to scream, move, fight, but his feet were glued to the cracked street. The cold bit deeper. Suddenly, a sharp crack shattered the night. A deafening sound, like glass breaking inside a skull. Heads whipped around. From the dark alley behind them, a figure burst forward. A woman, sharp and fierce, her eyes flashing with fire. She moved fast, arms raised, palms glowing a fierce white light that cut through the darkness like a blade. "Enough!" she shouted, voice raw with power and pain. The creature stopped, staggered backward, snarled in rage, but didn't move to attack. The girl gasped, turning her gaze to the woman, her trembling hands lowering, but her guards still tight. Michael blinked, heart thudding, as the new woman's gaze locked on him. Something in her eyes cracked open a locked door in his mind, a terrible, searing truth. "Michael," she said, voice breaking, trembling like a fragile thread, "you're not who you think you are." The crowd hushed, breaths caught somewhere between fear and disbelief. Michael shook his head. What do you mean?" The woman swallowed hard. Her next words hit like a punch. "This," she gestured wildly, "the monster, the twin, the chaos. It's all inside you. You're trapped. All of it. Not separate people, not enemies. It's fractured fragments of one mind, one soul, divided by trauma you buried deep." Michael's head spun, his breath hitched. The cold night seemed to press closer, suffocating. "No," he whispered, voice barely there. "That can't be." The woman stepped closer, pain flickering across her face. "I know it's hard. But your so-called father, the man from the wreck, was never real. He was a memory your mind created. The monster? That's the pain, the rage eating away at you. The shadow you see? That's the part of you trying to break free." Michael's eyes darted wildly between the glowing woman, the straining girl in his arms, the monstrous figure snarling nearby. "But the healing girl, you said she wasn't who she seemed. Who is she then?" For a long moment, only Michael's ragged breathing and distant sirens filled the street. Then the woman's face twisted with sorrow and something colder. "She's the key and the chain." Suddenly, the girl in his arms gasped, eyes wide and wild. She pushed away from him, stumbling back. She said, voice cracking, "I'm not a healer. I'm a trigger." Michael's hand tightened around nothing. Panic rising fast. Before he could say a word, the girl's skin rippled, glowing blue light flickering violently beneath the surface. Then, with a sick, wet, tearing sound, her body split open like glass shattering. Inside, not a heart, but a thumping, glowing core, a shining orb, pulsing with strange energy. The crowd screamed. Michael stumbled back, mouth dry, chest heaving. The woman's eyes met his with unbearable weight. "The healing was never real," she said, voice breaking. She's a sentinel designed to wake the fragments, to force the mind to collide, to shatter the walls you built. The streetlights flickered. The monster roared again, stepping forward, blood-red eyes blazing as it lunged toward the glowing core, now exposed. Michael's legs gave way. He dropped to his knees, his mind flooded with images, broken memories, flashes of a sterile white room, endless needles, a voice repeating over and over, multiple personalities, fragmented identity, experimental mind therapy. You are not Michael Harper. Michael's screams caught in his throat. His hands shook as the woman whispered, "You were never whole. You were built, rebuilt, and assigned a life that never belonged to you." The girl, or whatever she really was, screamed again, a piercing sound that split his soul, and the monster lurched closer, shadows pooling behind it like ink. The glowing orb in her chest pulsed faster. Brighter, the only sign of life in this nightmare. And Michael realized, with a slow, cold dread sinking through his bones, he was just a piece of someone else's cruel design. The city held its breath, waiting, and Michael's world broke apart once more. But now, whose life was he living? Michael's knees hit the wet pavement hard. The icy pain in his chest pulsed with every ragged breath as the glowing core throbbed beneath the girl's cracked skin, like a wild heartbeat trying to break free. Around them, the chaos swelled, the monster snarling, the glowing orb burning brighter, the woman's sharp voice slicing through the dread. But then, silence. A sharp, soft silence, like the calm before a scream. And then, the world twisted. The girl's shattered shell started to glow violently, longer, increasing, flaring, and the orb burst upward like a wild firecracker. The blue light exploded into blinding sparks that swirled around Michael, blinding him. The crowd gasped, stumbling backward, voices rising in freaked-out screams. Michael's ears rang. The cold night air was thick, sticky with tension. He fought the whirl of light, the rush of heat, and somewhere beneath that wild storm, a voice whispered his name. Quiet, personal, shaking. Michael! His eyes forced open. The glowing orb split with a sickening crack, then collapsed inward, and instead of light, spilled black liquid, thick, oily, sliding, slow, pooling beneath the girl's broken body. The black spread fast, swallowing the blue, smothering the light. Suddenly, her body convulsed, but not like before. This time, she arched backward as cold as death, a chill wind rushing up the street, freezing everything in its path. The orb absorbed back into her chest, but now her eyes opened wide, empty, like glass, except her mouth parted, and out came not a whisper, not a scream, but a voice that rolled through the air cold and heavy as iron. I am the real Michael. The crowd froze. The monsters paused. The street held its breath, and Michael felt his skin crawl. His head whipped toward the girl. But it wasn't a girl anymore. It was him. Smooth, sharp, unbroken. The same eyes, the same face, but colder. And the woman with the fire in her eyes gasped, stepping back. "Impossible," she breathed. Michael stared, heart pounding like a jackhammer. The girl who said she was a trigger, the doppelganger. None of it was cover. They were all fragments. But this was the missing whole. The real Michael Harper. The one carved out years ago, buried under lies and experiments. The one the others tried to replace, to mimic, to hide. His world shattered again. But what broke Michael most was the voice, the real Michael's voice, that reached over, calm, patient, dark. You thought you held the truth. You thought you were the truth. But you're the shadow, the piece left behind when I was taken apart. Michael's hands shook. The air thickened until he felt like he couldn't breathe. "You're the lie," the voice whispered. "I survived. They hid me, but now I'm back. And this world, you, me, the monster, the girl, the pain, was all designed to keep me trapped." The monster snarled next to them, and it didn't attack anymore. It bowed its head to the real Michael, waiting. The glowing woman fell silent, eyes wide with horror. The crowd staggered, murmurs crashing like waves. Michael looked down at the ocean of black spreading beneath him, the liquid swallowing the cracked street, snuffing out whatever light had been left. His breath caught. His heart broke in two. Because now, for the first time, the truth wasn't inside him. It was in front of him, and the Michael, holding his gaze, was determined to drag every secret into the light, no matter what it cost. But what cost? And which Michael would survive the night? The city wasn't ready. Michael wasn't ready. Because the story wasn't about pain or healing or even power anymore. It was about identity. And the line between man and shadow had just vanished. The streetlight flickered. The cold pressed closer. And in the dark, a terrible question hung thick like smoke. Who am I, if I'm not me? Michael's breath caught, his chest tight as the black liquid spread like ink across the cracked pavement. The real Michael Harper stood there, calm, unblinking, the cold cutting through the tension like a knife. Time seemed to freeze. Around them, the crowd's murmurs faded to silence. Phones dropped. Eyes wide. People whipped their heads between the two Michaels, the one broken and desperate, and the other sharp and unshakable. The woman with fire in her eyes stepped back, trembling. This changes everything," she whispered. Michael's knees scraped against the street. His hands shook. His heart was a wild drum pounding scorn and fear. He looked down at the spreading black, a thick stain swallowing the faint glow from the girl's broken shell. It felt like the moment the world tilted and fell apart. But then, a sudden, harsh click sliced the air. The crowd jerked their heads toward an alley just beyond the flashing police lights. A figure stepped forward. A cop, badge gleaming and voice steady, but with a hardness in his eyes that made Michael's skin crawl. "Hold it right there," the officer barked. Michael blinked. The cop's gaze locked on the real Michael, standing tall like a king in shadows. "Michael Harper." The cop's voice dropped low, but cut through like ice. "You're under arrest for—" Suddenly, the cold night exploded with a spin of police radios, shouts, and heavy footsteps pounding. Michael's head whipped right. Across the street, under another flickering light, a TV news reporter had arrived, aiming a camera right at the chaos. "Breaking news! Ladies and gentlemen, we're live at the scene of what's being called a psychological breakdown involving millionaire Michael Harper." "Wait, what's this?" The reporter's voice cracked with excitement as she zoomed on the two Michaels, the calm, cruel one, and the fading, struggling man. Then, before anyone could blink, the real Michael's face twisted in a laugh. Not a laugh of joy, but something dark, mocking, full of bitter venom. He took a slow step forward, eyes burning. "You want answers? Fine." His voice rolled like thunder. "I'm not who you think I am. None of us are." Shouts came from the street. The woman gasped, clutching at her chest. The homeless girl, the trigger, lifted a trembling hand, glowing faint blue again, as if warning, but her face was pale, eyes haunted. The real Michael's laugh cut through the cold like shattered glass. "And here's the truth," he snapped. "We're all just puppets." The crowd leaned in, catching every word. Michael's heart squeezed tight. He felt hollow, like breath sucked out from nowhere. But the puppet master? The real Michael's smile stretched wide, too wide. "He's been standing in front of you all along." Then, without warning, a blinding flash burst from the real Michael's chest. Light exploded, too fast to dodge. Michael screamed, a sound caught between fear and despair, as his world exploded into shattered images. And in that instant, everything distorted. The street, the crowd, the nightmare unraveling. Suddenly, Michael Harper's eyes snapped open. Cold, dark. Only it wasn't the same Michael anymore. Because tied to the concrete, under the flickering lamplight, wearing a torn shirt, a bruised face, and hollow eyes, was another man. And he whispered, in a cracked voice, trembling into the chaos, Who am I?" The city held its breath. The nightmare wasn't over. It had just changed its face, and everything Michael thought he knew was about to be shattered once again. The torn man on the ground whispered again, voice raw and ragged. Who am I? The city paused, not a sound, but the sharp rush of sirens closing in. The crowd pressed tighter, eyes wide, breaths held, waiting. Michael's chest ached. His hands trembled as the cold crept deeper under his skin. Then, without warning, the cracked silence shattered. A high-pitched screech, sharp and cruel, cut through the night like a blade. From the shadows of the alley behind the cop, a blinding white light burst out. It was sudden, blinding, like the sun had exploded on this grim street. People screamed and shielded their eyes. Phones clattered to the ground. Michael squinted, heart thudding so hard it drowned out the chaos. And standing, no, rising from the blinding flash, was a figure. Tall, shimmering, almost unreal. But Michael's breath caught, because this figure wore his face. Not one of them. No scar, no tremble, no shadow. This was perfect, cold, and alive. The real Michael? No, something else. Closer now. The figure's eyes gleamed. Empty, black pools that sucked the warmth from the air. The crowd stumbled back, panic rippling like wildfire. The woman with fire in her eyes gasped, "No, this can't be!" But the figure spoke, voice cutting through the night. "I'm the original." Michael's heart stopped. "What?" His voice cracked, barely a whisper. The shadowed figure smiled, a slow, cruel curve that froze the blood in Michael's veins. "They made you think you were the real one. The heir. The man with a name." It stepped closer, light bending with it, like a storm. "I never left." "Not really." The glowing orb flickered weakly at the girl's cracked shell, then dimmed completely. The homeless girl, no, the trigger, faced the figure, eyes wide, terror breaking free. "You're a ghost," she gasped, voice shaking. "A memory, a control." Suddenly, shouts rose behind them. The cop shouted for order, but his voice fell flat against the growing horror. Michael shook, frozen by the weight of the revelation. The man on the ground, the broken shell, they'd all believed was his father? A lie. The creature, lingering near them, snarling but obeying? Part of an experiment. The woman's voice cut through, low and grave. "That figure? He's an echo, a remnant of a failed project designed to replace you. You, the broken one, are the real Michael." Michael's mind reeled. Then the figure lunged fast, reaching out with cold hands. The world blurred in the chaos that followed. Shadows screamed. The crowd scattered like frightened birds. Michael ducked, heart pounding like a war drum. Then, just before the figure's hand grazed his face, something snapped inside the girl's glowing core. A scream shattered the night, raw and fierce. Blue light exploded from her chest, a jagged wave of energy that knocked everyone back. The figure stopped, eyes burning as the light wrapped around. And then, impossibly, the core pulled at Michael. A sudden flood of memories slammed into his chest. The sterile rooms, the whispered names, the countless faces that weren't his, the voices telling him he was created, carved, and discarded. His hands clenched into fists, tears burning behind his eyes. The woman stepped forward, voice trembling but steady. "You're part of something bigger. Not just him. Not just you." Michael looked at the twisted figure, then down at himself, at the broken girl, at the crowd still frozen in shock. A horrifying thought took root. What if none of this is real? What if this city, these faces, he whispered, voice breaking, are just layers, no truth at all, just echoes in an endless loop? The figure smiled again, sharp and cold. "Welcome to the memory prison, Michael. You never left." Behind him, the city lights flickered and died, and somewhere deep inside, a cage rattled. Michael's breath caught as the woman's words hovered. "There's a world beyond this nightmare. But to get there, you have to wake up." The street was silent again. The nightmare paused, but the question burned bright and cruel. Who am I if everything I see is a lie? The city held its breath, and the nightmare was just beginning. The city was silent now, the kind of silence that drags in your throat and holds you hostage. The glowing woman's words echoed. "There's a world beyond this nightmare. But to get there, you have to wake up." Michael's chest tightened. His body trembled under the weight of it all. Was this all just some cruel dream? A twisted loop? A cage of shadows and fractured memories? Then, the streetlights abruptly snapped off. Darkness swallowed the crowd. The buildings, the flickering lampposts, everything fading into black. A sharp gasp broke the quiet. Phones tried to catch light, but screens blinked out. Dead. Michael's heart hammered louder than ever. Cold sweat slicked his palms. Then a new sound slashed through the black. A voice, strange, distorted, and low. It came from inside Michael's own head. "Wake up." He clutched his head, desperate to crawl away from the voice. "Wake up." It repeated, over and over, like a cruel lullaby. But this time, layered beneath it, was another sound. A faint heartbeat. Slow, steady. Not his. The city was gone. The crowd, the street, the flickering lights. Just dark. Then, without warning, bright white light exploded behind Michael's closed eyelids. A sterile room appeared. Cold, blinding, an endless parade of white tiles. Monitors beeped. Needles pierced skin. Whispered names filled the air. Michael gasped, shaking, eyes snapping open. But he wasn't in the street anymore. He was strapped to a bed. Tubes feeding into him. Machines beeping steadily. A figure leaned close. A woman, face calm, eyes searching. "Michael," she said, voice gentle but firm. "You've been asleep for years." His throat closed tight. "What? Where am I?" "You're in a facility, a hospital, a prison of your own mind." The door behind her creaked. Footsteps approached. And then an eerily familiar man stepped into the glow. Dressed in a white coat, face cold, eyes sharp, but it was him. Not the Michael who'd standing in the street, but Michael himself, the real one, the original. The man leaning forward wore his face with a cruel smile, but his eyes were empty, clinical. "You've been living their story," he said. "A crafted mind, a fractured soul, a perfect experiment. True, you're a patient. They made your life a lie." Michael trembled, mind spinning. "What? Experiment?" The woman stepped back, voice low. "Multiple personalities. Identity fragmentation. They shattered your mind so they could build new lives inside you." The man in white smiled wider, cold and pitiless. "But the truth." He bent close, whispering sharp and cruel. "You never left the hospital. This whole time, you've been trapped inside." The machines beeped, synced with his racing heart. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind them. Michael's blood ran cold. His breath faltered, because from the shadows in the corner, another figure shifted, stepping forward. And it was the homeless girl. But this time, ragged clothes stripped away, eyes clear and burning. No longer ragged, she looked like a doctor, a scientist. Her lips curled, voice low and chilling. "I am the one who made it possible." Michael's head snapped to her. "You? Why? What have you done?" She shrugged, calm like fate. "Your mind, the layers, the stories, I built them to keep you safe, to keep the real horror locked away." Michael shook, panic clawing up his spine. "And the man in the street? The monster? The twins? The girl who tried to heal me?" She smiled, flat, cruel. "Fragments, disguises, a prison within a prison." Michael's chest seized. Then, with sudden, brutal clarity, they weren't escaping the nightmare at all. They were inside it. And no one outside the walls was coming to save him. The city he thought he knew was a mirage. Everything, every scream, every shadow, every shattered truth was their design. And the hardest truth hit him. He wasn't the victim. He was their creation. A boy lost in an endless story no one would end. The machines beeped louder. Time fractured, and Michael Harper whispered, voice breaking, "Who am I, really?" But the answer was buried deep, beneath layers of lies, behind every mirror, waiting for the next nightmare to begin. The white light faded, leaving Michael gasping on the cold hospital bed. His chest felt tight, like the air itself was choking him. The woman's voice echoed in the sterile room, soft but steady. "It's over, Michael. You're waking up." He tried to move, but his limbs felt like lead. Panic clawed in his throat, but beneath it, something fragile stirred. Hope. The homeless girl, no, the doctor, stepped forward, her eyes softer now. She raised a hand, gently brushing his sweat-soaked hair away. You survived. The fractures can heal. The nightmare can end. Michael's breath hitched. The chaos, the monsters, the twins, the lies, all of it was inside him. A broken mind fighting to be whole. The real Michael, the echoes, the shadows, pieces of a shattered soul finally coming together. A slow warmth spread through his chest, squeezing tight, but not painful, like he could finally breathe again. The woman smiled, a flicker of relief breaking through her tired eyes. You're not alone. You're more than this pain. And now, you get to choose what comes next. Michael's trembling hands clenched the thin sheets. His mind raced with questions, fear, and a flicker of fierce determination. The figure that called himself the real Michael, gone. The monster, the shadow, a memory fading in the light. The hospital walls held a strange quiet, a calm born from a storm finally spent. But still, a crack of doubt flickered in Michael's heart. He looked at the woman, voice raw but clear. What now? How do I live when I don't even know who I am? She paused, glancing toward the door, where silence pressed heavy. Step by step, you'll find your way, one day at a time. Outside, faint city sounds drifted through the high windows, the endless hum of life going on without him. And somewhere deep inside, the fractured pieces ached to be whole again. Michael closed his eyes for a long moment, feeling the weight both lift and settle. This wasn't the end. No, it was the first breath of a new fight. The woman's hand rested on his shoulder, steady and sure. Then a soft beep from the machines, and a quiet promise. You're waking up. The city outside waited, unaware. And Michael Harper, broken, lost, and maybe finally real, was ready to face the unknown. But the question still lingered, quiet but sharp as a blade. Who am I really when the story begins again? Okay, listen up. This is the moment to show your support. Don't miss out. You need to subscribe now. Hit that red button below. Make sure you're locked in for every wild twist and exclusive story coming your way. Smash the like button right now. Every single tap helps the channel grow. It's how we keep bringing you these insane tales. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about the ending. I want to hear everything. Your guesses, your shock, your no way moments. This community thrives because of you. And don't wait even one more second. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who have to see how it ends. Trust me, they'll thank you. True fans know it. Subscribing, liking, commenting, sharing. It's how we keep the story alive. So don't hold back. Let's blow this up together.